Good evening, everybody. This is your host, HugePop, the pot stirrer from the HugePop Wrestling Podcast. Tonight, we are blessed with a special guest. He comes from out of the SICW promotion in St. Louis. He has wrestled at the Chase, I believe. He's won the Bruiser Brody Battle Royal twice back to back. No one's ever done that. Our guest tonight is Bobby Weidler. How you doing, Bobby D?
How you doing? Weidler.
Weidler. Well, hey,
Don't worry, most people say Weidler.
Well, hey, I got that wrong, but you know what? We're gonna have fun tonight.
You're with the common folk.
I'm with the common folk. That's all right. That's right. So, I mean, you have to be. I guess yeah. We'll just leave that. I'm with the common folk. We'll go with that. So, Mr. D, Bobby D. Let's call him that. That's easy. So, how did you become a wrestling fan? I mean, we're all young kids at one time. Is that where it all started?
It did, and I was pretty much the only one in my house that liked wrestling.
Oh, wow.
I'm in the middle of three boys, and I was raised by a single mom. My brothers never really got into it. They do come watch me once in a while, but just as a kid, I was a WCW kid. I ran into some of their shows, and I got infatuated really quick. Juventud Guerrero and Billy Kidman, their feud sucked me in immediately. It was between that and the Dean Malenko and Chris Jericho feud.
Awesome, man. So WCW guy. So
100%.
Were you a WCW guy when Hogan came down and dropped the leg on Macho Man and the NWO and all that good stuff?
Yeah, I watched her and all that time. I was never really a Hogan guy.
All right. So you mentioned WCW. I was going to save the question for the kids' question, but my question with the kids' question is, who is the greatest WCW champion ever? That's a trick question, so don't think so hard on this.
I say that's a tough one. There were a lot of good champions. I mean, you got to go with Flair or Sting, though. They carried that company more than anyone else.
What about if I have to say? I agree with Sting. Yeah, I'm a Sting fan. He's one of my favorite wrestlers. But I'm going to blow your mind here. The best WCW heavyweight champion ever is David Arquette.
I'm going to have to disagree with that one.
All right. Well, there you go. There you go.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I loved the movie Ready to Rumble.
Yeah.
But that's about where that ends.
Right. Ready. Yes. So let's go over some highlights of your wrestling career. Like, where did you get your start? Or let's go back to what was going through your head when you said, yes, this is what I'm going to be.
Well, I knew when I was a kid watching in WCW, I would VHS tape the matches and rewind them, and just to see how transitions and all the moves and everything, they always infatuated me. Like, I wanted to know how it was done, and I was kind of that way with magic too. But
all right.
And so I would always rewind it, and I still do the same thing. Like, I go even older now, Lou Thez, that man still is a mystery to me. If I go back and watch one of his matches, I find myself rewinding it 4 or 5 times. How did he get from here to there? So I was always interested in the build and how it's done and everything, just even from a kid. And then when I graduated high school, I was wrestling and everything in high school. And then when I graduated, I was dating my now wife, and I was sitting in the living room of the Big Texan, our champion at SICW.
Yeah.
His wife is sisters with my wife.
Okay.
And so I'm sitting in his living room, and we're talking about wrestling and stuff. He's like, yeah, I tried out wrestling once, and he's telling me about this place in St. Louis he went to. And I was like, I need to go. And so I got one of my other friends that was also interested. My other friend lasted 1 day there.
All right.
And then I went back to Texas. I'm like, I need someone to drive with me every time I go over here. I'm not going to keep going over here by myself. And then he got in, and we started training. We both graduated, and here we are now.
That's a great story, because I'm glad you shared that, because I had that at the end that Big Texan did share with me that your wife is his wife's sister or something like that, and I was like, cool. So you got 2 big dudes. That's pretty cool, man.
They married 2 crazy women.
I did not say that. That's it'll be on the podcast if they listen to it later. It's not my fault. I'll have to answer that. So, where and when did you start your training, and who were your trainers?
So I started at a place called South Broadway Athletic Club. There was Little Dynamite, Tony Costa. He was the promoter of it. Very good dude, took care of his guys, and there was never any questions. You're getting paid, you're being taken care of. Things made sense when he booked. He was a great man. He's since passed away. That's why I say was.
Okay.
But so they had their own training gym there that was just a few blocks away from where they wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, it was pretty much whoever you could get to train you that day was your trainer.
Okay. All right.
Because people would come in there and look at matches they had coming up and all that stuff and kind of just work out. A lot of my training, was done by Jeremy Lightfoot, Johnny Courageous,
Okay.
an old tag team partner of mine, Jimmy D. Those were probably the guys that did most of my training. But then there was also a bunch of other people that would come in just for a day here and there, a Cecil Lowe or a Shaft, or just a lot of different people would just stop in.
Now, do you go to the Ace Academy at all?
So I coach Little League Wrestling.
Okay.
I got 3 sons myself.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
one of what I was doing right before this was my oldest had freshman orientation.
Oh, wow. There you go.
So I coach a lot, and then I'm on the board there and whatnot. So their practices are on the same days as Ace Academy. So during season, I don't really get to get up there, but I do try to make it in and out of there when we're not in wrestling season.
Okay. That's awesome, man. So, your inspirations. Let's talk a little bit about your inspirations in wrestling. Who are your mentors, and who do you look up to the most? Where you can, hey, run the storyline by them, say, hey, what should we do?
So it used to be Sean Vincent, like that guy before he kind of changed his stripes and everything. He was a very good confidant. He tried to pass his knowledge on a lot. Believe it or not, Attila Khan can sometimes be that way, where he's just really good to talk to when he's not wanting to cover you in blood.
Okay.
Texan, of course, we probably talk more than I talk to anyone else. Obviously, we have like holidays together and everything.
Right. So we're gonna get into this Sean Vincent heat, because I hear there's some heat going on between you guys and Glenn
Williams, yes, sir.
Glenn Williams. So we're gonna get to those guys in a little bit.
Mhm.
I asked him. I mean, that's a mind blowing. He calls him the Canadian champ, whatever he wants to call him. I call him Purple Grimace. I don't know. I think
Yes.
So go back to Canada.
He calls himself a lot of things that he shouldn't.
Go back to Canada, Sean. I mean, I'm just saying. So do you guys, other than Texan, do you stay in contact with because man, you come from SICW, you come from Herb Simmons, you come from Bruiser Brody, Battle Royal, you come from those guys, the Fan Fest, to meet all these legends. Do you connect with these guys and bounce questions off them and then you stay connected once you do all that?
So yeah, definitely stay connected. We talked to a few, like James Beard, talked to him many times on our podcast over at the Squared Ring podcast.
Okay.
Very, very nice guy, and he is always willing to talk to you all day long. And there's a few legends like that you could tell they truly care about the people they're around and want to pass things on. Like Ted DiBiase was probably the first one that blew my mind like that. That guy will talk to you until you walk away.
Right.
But there's many other ones, like Jimmy Hart. Like he's one. So I'll give a little story here. I wasn't there, but Texan told me the story.
Okay.
Jimmy Hart flew in a little bit early one day for a show he was going to do. And so he went up there with Herb and everything, and Texan setting up chairs and whatnot. And Jimmy Hart, as old as he is, like I don't want to sound rude with it, but as old as he is and the legend that he is, he starts setting up chairs. And someone's like, Jimmy, you've paid your dues. You do not have to set up chairs. He's like, I'm here, baby. Why wouldn't I do it? Like when that's his mentality, it's like above all, like he is a great guy. Jerry the King Lawler, he was one that I was a little intimidated by. We had a show where there was about 13 legends came in. It was a Halloween show. And Jerry carries himself like he's a king. Like, so when he's walking around, it's like, man. Well, long story short, like I bought this Funko Pop of him. And I was going to have him sign it and give it to my son for Christmas.
Right.
And he was selling them out there for like $60. It's like, man, he's not going to do this because he's selling them out there. And I waited till he got back to the locker room during the show, and I'm like, excuse me, sir. I know you're selling them out there. It's okay. No offense if like you say no, but can I buy an autograph and sign this Funko Pop for my son? He's like, absolutely not, but I will give you one. And so he started signing it. And again, I told him this for my son for Christmas. He goes, you got a camera? I was like, yeah, it's on my phone. He goes, go grab it and start recording. He recorded a little video telling my son Merry Christmas, holding the Funko Pop, had it playing on the TV when he opened it. Like, super nice guy.
That is awesome, man. And as a fan, I'm kind of jealous. I mean, I love hearing your guys' story. I'm one of my favorite promotions to cover is SICW, and Herb Simmons. I talk a little bit. I'm just you guys. I hope people understand that putting in the hard work, staying committed, doing brotherhood, paying your dues, gets you what you guys get.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Herb doesn't keep guys around if they're not going to do all that stuff. I'm sure.
Yeah.
And SICW's got is the elite indie promotion, in my opinion, up in the Midwest, right? Midwest.
Yes, sir. And I appreciate that. We as a locker room, we try to police each other pretty hard, and I think we stay pretty tight knit and keep it that way.
I
And
am.
then another one, speaking of like just these legends, like you got me thinking of all of them now. So we go to Cauliflower Alley Club each year. We've
Yeah.
gone 2 years now. Well, Herb, and this is where kind of the advice from Attila comes in. Herb puts a thing out to the locker room. Anyone that goes, you are not allowed to cause any scenes out there. You better get along. So, Attila's kind of forced to mingle with us a little bit. Well, there was one morning where we got to have breakfast with Haku, and just sitting with that man and talking about family and the road and business and all that. Like, that's another guy that will just talk to you until you walk away. As long as you show him respect, you're getting even more respect given back to you.
And is that what you would say paying your dues and brotherhood is about? And you got with you guys having respect?
Yeah.
Pitching in that Jimmy Hart did.
Yeah, that's kind of the paying the dues and just doing what's asked of you, not trying to big time anybody. It's like you're not going up to Herb and saying, I'm not doing that. I'm too good for this. No, you can get out of the locker room, man. You're not for us.
Right. I mean, I can tell a story. I don't care who's listening, but I'm blessed to be part of. I'm blessed that Herb Simmons lets me be part of this. And he lets me interview guys. I had the opportunity to on the 25th of January to interview Bruiser Brody's widow. I mean,
very nice lady.
Oh my God. I'm thinking, and Herb called me up and said, "Hey, I want to give you the first chance." I'm like, "What?" So I'm like, and then he called me. I had an interview a couple of days ago that I had another young man on the thing that you know well. He's a well, I don't want to say, I can say his name. Kyler, I guess is what his name is.
Yeah.
Julie. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And Herb called me and shared, some stuff with me, and we talked, and it was just cool to hear from the man and tell me the backstory about you guys and all this stuff. And it meant a lot to me because I get a lot of praises from the SICW. You guys make me feel like family, and I appreciate that. I guess I went a long way around to tell you that. So
yeah, you mentioned Barbara Goodish, Brody's wife. She's another one where you kind of feel like you're in your own little bubble and people don't really know who you are until you start mingling and get out there, right?
Yeah.
And so the first time I won the Bruiser Brody Cup, she's there every year and she presents it to the winner. Took pictures with her. She was super nice. Like, can't say enough there. But it's like, she's not going to remember me,
Right.
Well, we go to Cauliflower Alley Club that next summer, or that year, it was in late September, almost a year later.
Right.
And she's running the door. And, I go to get my name tag, and she looks up, and I say my name. She's like, I know who the Bruiser Brody Memorial Cup winner is. And, like, she gets up and gives me a hug and everything. It's like she really cares to get to know people, and, like, she's got a good, genuine heart on her.
I'm excited to meet her. I can't wait. I'll be honest, I'm a little nervous. To meet.
There's no reason to be nervous. Again, it's all respect. As long as you give that, she'll welcome you with open arms.
So let's talk about fans. How do you connect with the fans? And can you share how important the fans are to you and some positive interactions that you've had with the fans, even at the merch tables and during a match?
So for me, it's all about the kids. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a board member at a Little League football, cheerleading, and wrestling organization. I'm a wrestling coach. So, like, I'm involved with kids all the time.
Yeah.
And that's actually, that organization's in Belleville where we run most of our shows.
Okay.
So I actually get a lot of those fans at the shows.
Awesome.
But I mean, that's what it's all about. And that's what motivates me out there to kind of push things to the next level, sometimes more than I should.
Awesome. So is there any funny interactions during a match that you've had with a fan?
The most recent funny one that I can think of is right before I wrestled Sean Vincent to get my cup back that he stole, like didn't win, just stole. Uh, I'm going out to the ring, and his daughter gives me a hug. So I
Oh,
make sure when I'm in the aisle, I turn her to the ring so he can see that and everything.
nice, 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 nice. Um, so fans, yeah. So I have we talk about kids. I appreciate that you work with kids as a coach and stuff. One of the reasons why I do this podcast is for self care. If nothing else, I am a foster parent. My wife and I run the emergency shelter, and we have take care of 8 kids at a time. So
Well, that's awesome.
to get this opportunity to talk to people like you and meet people like you and escape from reality for an hour and 15 minutes is
Yeah.
so much to me. So yeah, so I just love that. So is there any behind the scenes locker room ribs or any car ride stories that you could share without getting yourself in trouble?
So one of my favorite ones, it was back at South Broadway. They have a shower room, and the shower room, it's all walled and curtained and everything, but it's in the middle of the dang locker room, so everybody can see who goes in there and whatnot. And so one day you have, when there's some rookies in there, um, a lot like a Mountain Dew bottle getting passed around, and people would disappear with it, and then it would get a little bit more full each time, and they get passed around. People come back with it; it's a little more full each time, and then the wall is only about a foot over your head. And so when the rookie went in there to shower, they dumped that Mountain Dew bottle on him. Turned out it was just some warm water in there, but it's a green bottle and it's tinted
Yeah,
and it messes with your head.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, over the years that you've been in your business, how has wrestling industry evolved during your career? Do you think that wrestling is missing the territory days like it used to be?
It is. There's a lot of promotions in our area, and it gets watered down a lot. That's why we at SICW, the wrestlers, created our 25-mile rule. That way, you're not like a champion here, and 5 minutes away, you're losing. And we actually did like a whole episode on this, and there's a good example of it where at the South Broadway place where someone else took over that promotion, they had a guy losing, but on that same video, they just said 5 minutes before, during the middle of that match, oh, he just won the Dynamo Pro title, and then he lost in this match, and like it kills everything. It kills any kind of momentum that guy was getting. Like it just flat. It messes with both promotions. Like so, we try to keep it separated a little bit. You can we'll work at SICW, but then to wrestle somewhere else, you want to go a little bit farther away. Like I'm going to Arkansas, the Arkansas Missouri border next month.
Okay.
Texan, he travels out towards Rolla a lot.
Okay. So, what other promotions are you with?
Well, this will be the first time I'm going down there. It's Jason Jones, Mid States Wrestling. I've
Okay.
been
Yeah.
talking with him for quite a while about going down there, and things finally lined up.
Awesome.
But
I just was talking to Herb about the Mid States, and he's talking to Jason Jones about me trying to do the same thing I do with SICW with Mid States. So
Jason
hopefully,
Jones is another great guy. I met him. I think we brought him in before I met him, but then I really got to know him at the Cauliflower Alley Club. We'd hang out a few times, have dinner and whatnot, and like another really good guy. Give your shirt off his back if you need it.
awesome. So who's your favorite legend you've met? I know I don't want to put you on the spot, but
Favorite legend. It'd have to. I would guess it'd be Haku. There's been other ones that I've met that I thought I would be more excited for, and their personalities, maybe they were just having bad days or something. They weren't really for me.
Right.
But Haku, I've met him about 4 or 5 times now, and again, you give him respect, he will welcome you with open arms, and like he is one of the nicest, most genuine guys around.
Awesome.
I've only met him the one time, but Tito Santana, that was another guy that was just, you could tell he wanted to be there and talk with you, and he was enjoying himself and just loved being in that locker room.
These are the guys. You naming all these guys that I used to that I grew up watching wrestling. Tito Santana, the white shorts with the little hat on the side.
Oh yeah, that flying burrito.
Yeah, that was so awesome, man. So, what advice can you give to some professional wrestlers or wannabe professional wrestlers coming into business on how hard it is? And what kind of advice would you give?
My biggest advice is check your ego. You're never done learning. I don't care how long you've been doing it. There's still something you can learn. The business is always evolving, so there's something you can learn. There's holds and moves that you didn't know. There's things you can learn. Psychology. I'm still learning all the time. Like, I've been doing this almost 20 years now. Still learning all the time. And I don't care if you go all the way up to Randy Orton. I bet there's a move he can learn.
Yeah.
Just always learning, always listening, especially to veterans. And sometimes I hear that a little too much. Some of the younger guys, they have different takes on things, like we were talking about it earlier, technology.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these younger guys might be able to give some of these older guys advice on technology. Everybody can learn something from somebody.
So would you say it's important to listen to the people in the back and what they have to say? And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I said, that was one thing that I think holds our locker room together is there's no egos. We listen to each other in the back. We don't ever say, I'm too good for that. I'm not doing that. You listen, you learn, you do what you're asked.
You think that's the biggest thing missing from wrestling today?
100%. At least on the indie scene. And from what little I've watched of AEW, I'm going to guess it's on that scene as well.
Pretty much. So how important are storylines, and what is SICW's concept of storylines?
So storylines are very important. I always use this as my example. Like I kind of alluded there, I don't watch much AEW. I can't stand it. I like to use this as my example for the evolution. So AEW, someone does a backflip. Oh, that's cool. Well, now I got top. I'm going to do a backflip and a half. Oh, that's even cooler. Well, now I'm getting bored. Now I got to do 2 backflips. You can only do so many flips in the air at once.
Yeah.
You have to have a storyline. Like, you can get that awe and shock and viral moment for doing a double backflip, but you're not going to do a triple or a 4 backflip. Like, it tops off somewhere. You got to have storyline that draws people in, keeps them connected. And that's where I always complain about WWE nowadays too. When I was a kid, storylines lasted 4 or 5 months. They weren't just one pay-per-view, 1 month and done. Like, they had layers and it built. And like, that's why I always hear the Bloodline storyline is so great. And I agree, it is great. But that's been built, getting layers and getting more and more and more depth to it. Storylines are the biggest part.
Right. One of my favorite. I love this Bloodline storyline. They're doing an amazing job with that. But as a kid growing up, I loved the Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, and Piper's Pit. That whole thing about the necklace and about Andre gonna break him and all this stuff and why you're my best friend. Why are you doing this? Yeah. That whole storyline was amazing to me.
And then to that, I mean, again, with the storyline, the storyline in the match as well is just as important. Hogan's not the first one to body slam Andre the Giant. Harley Race did it. Yeah. But they built that storyline up to it of breaking Hogan's back and everything, and not literally breaking it, but you get what I'm saying. And then building up to it in the match, and like that's why it was the big thing. It was the story that built to that body slam.
Yeah. So, what was it like wrestling at the Chase, man?
It was unbelievable. I went there and watched an NWA show, and it's like, oh, this is cool. But then when you get to be part of it. I didn't wrestle there with the NWA. We wrestled there as SICW. Right. But so I took my bags down to our locker room area and came back up, and Herb tried to have me do an interview ringside. And he's like, asked me what I think. I'm like, Herb, I'm still trying to take all this in, like looking at all these starlights out here and like the history. And a couple of us wrestlers sat around afterwards at a table after all the fans left. He's like, can you believe what we just did? Like, and you could just feel that energy coursing through you.
Yeah, I bet, man. I bet. So are there any specific goals or achievements that you want to accomplish before your career is over?
I would love to have a ladder match.
Okay.
Never done one, and it just seems like a lot of fun. I'm kind of a little crazy sometimes. I do want to venture out before that a little bit more. Like I said, I'm going to Mid-States next month. There's ACW that Texan wrestles for. I would like to check them out. A couple other places that I've had in mind would be pretty cool to check out and try.
What about that ladder match you talked about? Do you have anybody that you're eyeing that you're like, How about a brother-in-law?
Really, like
your brother-in-law. I mean,
that'd
be a hell of a ladder match.
He might not want me saying this on here, but he's not a big fan of heights. Okay. So that might not be the match for him.
Okay.
He's not a big fan of heights, but he's done like what we have at our Six Flags called the Dragon Wing, where they, bring you up on this big cable and then drop you in your swing.
Okay.
But he's still not a fan of heights, but he's done that.
All right. I'll go get that. So that ladder match and dream match, who would be your dream opponent? I mean, if you had to say, yep, this is what I'm going to do.
I think the king of hardcore is Cactus Jack McFoley. I mean, obviously he couldn't do it anymore,
Right.
but if I could have him in his heyday, that would be the top.
Okay. Any championships you're eyeing?
I've got this one, the Central States title,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to call Texan out or anything, but it'd be nice to have it try out that heavyweight title for a little while.
Hey, Herb, I know you're going to watch this later, but Bobby D's calling out the Texan for that heavyweight title of SICW. I think you need to make that happen.
We've mixed it up. We've mixed it up before a few times when we were not seeing eye to eye a lot, and I think there were some great matches.
There you go. Let's see it. We want to see that. Some of your goals. Is there any goals you want to, how you're in your teaching and your coaching and your?
I say my goals are pretty much just to venture out a little bit more. So my kids are getting a little bit older. The oldest one's going to high school next year, so it gives me a little bit more free time. I still coach the little leaguers and stuff, but I get a lot more free time because he plays a lot of other random sports too and any other activity he can find. But with him moving up, that gives me more time. I'd like to venture out a little bit more. I'm going to call it territory, like St. Louis or mid-states or down in Florida. Texas is a strong style. Like everywhere you go is a slightly different style. So I think it'd be cool to just kind of travel around a little bit, wrestle with those different styles, and pick up some little tips and tricks here and there.
You ever see you come to Florida?
I've been there on vacation once. I come there to wrestle for sure.
Where you go on vacation at?
I only went there once. It was kind of, as you know, Cocoa Beach.
Okay, my wife and I live in the Panhandle near Destin, Florida. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we drove to Cocoa Beach, was about 16 hours, and that was a super long drive.
Yeah. So here comes the kids' question before we get to the SICW stuff. Favorite food?
Favorite food? I like all food. All right. I eat a little too much food. I don't know if you ever see me in my gear sometimes. I love some pizza. Lasagna is probably my top one ever since I was a kid.
So which pizza topping is the best?
I always go with the meat lovers, but you can't go wrong with bacon.
All right. How about, does pineapple belong on that pizza?
I do like a pineapple Canadian bacon pizza.
Okay. So here's a question. If you could be a superhero, what would your magic power be?
Ooh. That's a tough one. I watch a lot of Marvel too. I'm sitting here blanking now. Probably some kind of telekinesis.
All right. If you had a time machine, where would you go?
Like, and I could say, like, about my current age, I'd go back to the heydays of WCW and try to get in there.
All right. Would you rather be on a beach or in the mountains?
To live or vacation?
To live.
To live, the mountains.
Okay. If you could meet any celebrity, who would it be?
Mick Foley. Okay. He's probably like one of the biggest ones that, like, so I was a WCW guy, but I would go over to WWF to watch Mick Foley all the time.
All right. Shorts or pants?
Shorts, all winter long.
Okay. We live in Florida, so they have to ask that one. What's your favorite?
Snow on the ground, and I'll walk around in my shorts.
Favorite fruit?
Favorite fruit? Probably strawberries, but I eat bananas more.
Okay. I see that you're the video game back there. Is that your favorite video game?
Mortal Kombat? That's probably in my top, yeah.
Okay. Favorite movie?
Favorite movie? There's a lot of good ones too there too. I used to watch Animal House all the time growing up, and Matrix. I used to be able to tell you every line in the first Matrix movie.
Really? You want to see Iron Claw yet?
I did. I had press passes for it, so I got to see it a few weeks before it was released. So I felt extra special. Very good movie. It's like, so I always heard the Von Erich story, but watching it unfold in the movie, like it chokes you up quite a bit throughout that movie.
So SICW. So how does it feel being the only guy to win the Bruiser Brody Battle Royal back to back?
Amazing. Validated. Like, I put a lot of time in there, and everybody has self-doubts. I don't care who you are. And sometimes you just feel like, am I doing things right? Is it good enough? Things like that. And when you can pull something off like that, like, you know you're doing it right.
How would it like to be the SICW Central State champion? How would you like that?
It's great. Like, 2-time now.
Two-time. Yeah.
You know, like, I tried to get it back at the last Fan Fest and I failed, and I'm hoping I can hold on to it until this Fan Fest. But yeah, it's a great honor, like, to be one of the faces of the company and represent, like, every match at the best of my ability out there.
Who's the biggest nuisance trying to get that off you?
It was Sean Vincent, but I think I finally got him out of my hair. We had a long-standing feud. He was stealing the cup and all this. Faked a retirement and attacked me when, you know, he was about to leave. It was Sean Vincent. This month or this weekend coming up, it's going to be Steve Fender.
That's what I heard. We're going to get to that in a little bit. So Sean Vincent stole your cup.
Yep.
And this is what happened. I mean, and his buddy Glenn Williams, I guess his name is.
Yeah, so I had Glenn Williams. I was wrestling him, and I had him in a sharpshooter. Well, while the cup was ringside, and while my back was to it, you know, with getting the submission victory, Sean Vincent grabbed it and just left.
So I got these photos. Let's talk about these photos here. There's Glenn Williams. There's
so that's after I won it. They tried to take it right then and there, and there was a big stop put to that right away.
Okay. It looks like there they are trying to take it, or they took it.
Yeah, they took it and brought it. They had to bring it back with Barbara there.
So Barbara was yelling at them there, so I think they got put in their place, right?
Yeah.
So that was a situation. Did that just recently happen this year, last year? When
that was at last year's Fan Fest.
Fan Fest. So talk about Fan Fest. What is Fan Fest? What's it about? And what goes on?
So Fan Fest is a big gathering we do where we bring a ton of legends in for the fans. It's last year we had 48. I think we're on pace to do over 54 at this point.
Okay.
But there's so many there. I'm trying to scroll through Herb's page right now at the same time. That way I don't get any of these names wrong. We have a lot of different Glow Girls coming. Abdul the Butcher's coming. Godfather's coming. Brian Blair is coming. My computer doesn't want to load anymore up.
Right.
We have a lot coming. LA Smooth. Haku will be there. Barbara Goodish will be there. Bob Orton will be there. Jimmy Hart. Jimmy Valiant. Greg the Hammer Valentine. It's just a meet and greet. So the one day we'll have the one-man show with Bill Apter, who's going to be there. And then the second day will be a meet and greet all day long with over 50 legends. That alone is like worth the price of admission. Getting to meet everybody, talk with everybody, get autographs, all that kind of stuff. And then that night, we will have a St. Louis Hall of Fame ceremony.
Okay.
Followed by our Fan Fest wrestling show, where my cup will be on the line.
Okay. So
and the Bruiser Brody Battle Royal.
You're in it You're going to be in it this year?
Oh yeah, I got to try to defend it, or I got to defend it, not try.
So three-peat, huh?
Three-peat. Only one to ever get it twice at all, much less twice in a row.
There you go. That's awesome. So we talked a little bit about the interference with Sean and all that great stuff. And so talk about this match that I heard you were involved in, that was the Fans Bring the Weapons match.
So that was one of the times with Big Texan where we weren't seeing eye to eye very much.
Okay.
Yeah, we wanted a no disqualification match. That way we could do things that were, you know, outside of the rule book. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to get real creative on the fly. So we announced it the month before. There'll be a trash can at ringside next month. Whatever you want, bring it, and it may get used in the match.
So here's some photos of this that you can talk through.
So that was, you know, me hitting Texan with the steel chair there. The trash can was emptied at that point. You could see a brick behind me. Hopefully you got the picture of the brick. If you see all the little shiny stuff, I threw Texan off the second rope onto a bunch of thumbtacks there.
Okay.
That was a duster that someone put in there. There were so many random things in there, from tiles to dusters to nunchucks.
Nunchucks. Wow.
Bowling ball.
Wow. That's awesome, man. So
there was a stereo in there. I think I hit
a stereo. So you guys hit each other with all this stuff. Okay. So that brings me to a question I haven't asked in a lot of podcasts. I used to ask it a lot. This stuff is predetermined, but it's not fake. Can you explain why it's not fake to these people that think it's fake?
You ever fall down?
Okay.
Can't fake that. Like, you're gonna hit the ground doesn't move. Okay. A lot of people think that a wrestling ring is soft and bouncy. Next time you're at a show, go slap the ring. Like, okay. It is there. So a ring has steel tubes on the outside, steel tubes that cross, and then plywood and carpet padding. Nothing softer than your living room floor. And then the canvas.
Wow.
And so like, there's ways that, and I took judo classes too. And so when I started pro wrestling, a lot of learning to fall was the same way. You're trying to distribute the weight so it doesn't hurt as much, but you're still getting those impacts.
Absolutely. I mean, so let's talk about something that I don't see how people can think it's fake, because there's no way to hide this. Sheamus is really good at it. Gunther is really good at it. I heard you're super good at it, and Texan's super good at it. The chops. Who claims to have the best chop in the SICW?
Well, a lot of people claim, but everybody's wrong unless they say me.
All right.
So there was Jeremy Lightfoot that I said was one of my biggest trainers. We did a couple matches where we had 73 chops in one match between the two of us. Damn. It hurt to breathe all the way home and a little bit the next day.
Was 73 necessary? I mean,
probably not, but we don't always make the best choices as wrestlers.
I guess not, man. So 73 chops. Wow. So I'm gonna play a video here. I think this is pretty cool. Before I go, we can talk about this now. Someone told me, it might have been Big Texan told me this. He had the best ending in the movie Head Over Heels. It's about a wrestling at the chase. Throughout the movie, they showed actual wrestling footage. He got the last scene where he starts to climb the turnbuckle. He gets to the top, poses, and the film fades to black and white. So let's see this.
Top goes Rocky Johnson and a terrible spot.
But every once in a while, it's worth remembering that it was an evolution, not a revolution, that turned professional wrestling into a multi-billion-dollar industry, reimagined by big thinkers, but built on the shoulders of giants.
Wrestling at the Chase is just not wrestlers in a ring wrestling. In the big picture, it's history. It's the history of St. Louis.
If you look at the tapes now, you will still see that energy. I mean, I still look at stuff like that today, and I still get that energy. I get those goosebumps because that was what I grew up on.
And that's it. Hope you enjoyed it. Good night, everybody.
What I hope people remember about wrestling at the Chase, I hope they have the same memories that I do. It puts a smile on my face when I think about it. It puts a sense of pride that I was a part of that. And I hope the people that surviving that attended one of those matches can still look back and say, I was a part of history and I didn't even know it.
So that was you at the end, huh?
Yes, sir.
Who was the guy in the plaid shirt? Is that just a fan, or is that?
No, that was Jerry Briscoe.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, that was Briscoe. And then you had the gorgeous one, Gary Jackson, talking before that.
Yep.
Yeah, it was. So wrestling at the Chase was a little bit before my time. I've gone back and watched a lot of it, especially since working for Herb. And it was an honor to be a part of that documentary. Anyone can go on Google and look up on PBS, Head Over Heels. great documentary worth watching. Teach you a lot of the history on how Wrestling at the Chase came about. And that even goes back to Wrestling at the Chase again. So, like, after being in that documentary and seeing it and learning the history, like, it just made it that much bigger of a moment, knowing everything.
That's awesome, man.
And then Texan likes to give me a lot of trouble because I believe I was coaching one of my kids' tournaments. And I was just exhausted by the time of the night of the debut of that movie. And, like, Herb had a ring set up at it, everything. A bunch of wrestlers went out. I was exhausted and didn't even go. I got so many messages that night.
Wow. So let's talk about a certain match between you. Okay, we talked about that. You were once the biggest heel, I hear, in SICW a few years ago.
Was that me?
Yeah, that was you, supposedly.
Yeah, had a bit of an attitude problem.
Okay.
I probably spent more time as a heel than I have as a face still.
Okay, because now
sometimes it's you just want to blow off a lot of steam, and like there's times where I catch myself, especially like this feud I had with Sean Vincent, where you really just want to break the rules and do some dastardly things. Sometimes it's fun. Sometimes it helps you get you the W. Sometimes it gets you disqualified.
There you go. What about the Top Guns?
Top Guns? I mean, Brandon Barrett is the greatest around. So,
all right. Okay. I mean, if that's what you want to say,
just ask him.
Yeah, I did. He told me. He did tell me that. I mean, he's always claimed the fame.
He's a good kid. Both of them are. Him and Joey both. They're both good guys. So Brandon Barrett got, being the first graduate from the Ace Academy, Bob presented him with a plaque. And since he was the first one, the whole locker room likes to play the rib on him now. Like, oh, Brandon Barrett, let's bow to him. He's got the plaque and the stamp of approval from Bob. So we all just tell him how great he is and thank him for the house every time we see him. And he blushes. It's a good time.
So is that what keeps SICW as a family together, because of being able to joke around in the back and go out and do the show anyways? Because I'm sure we won't talk about that. We're good.
That's all right. Like, yeah, like being able to relate with your co-wrestlers is huge. In wrestling, I'd say one of the biggest things is being able to trust who you're working with.
True.
And I've worked at a few different promotions where I did not trust who I was working with, and I could tell you the match wasn't good.
That's important then, huh?
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody, I can't remember who it was, but he was saying that he was wrestling against some guy that didn't speak very good English, and he tossed him across the ropes, and he heard Fazuba. And he said, okay, what the hell is that? Until he realized a big boot came at him at the end. And he goes back in the back. He says, what did you say? He goes, watch for the big boot. And he goes, all I heard was Fazuba. So I'm like, so you guys absolutely got to communicate whether you're in the match because is that how that goes? You guys communicate as you toss the person or whatever, what's coming next? What do you?
Everybody works a little bit different. I would say that is predominantly how it's done.
Okay.
At least at SICW.
Okay.
But everybody works a little bit different.
Okay. So you talk about being at MMWA tag champions and RCW tag champs.
Yeah. One of the guys helped train me, Jimmy D. We had some success going around. I mean, that was when we were in our bad guy days, our heel days, where didn't really give a crap what people thought, or we were just going to do what we want. And there was one battle royal we were in where we got eliminated and we didn't feel like leaving, so we just beat up everybody that was tossed out.
All right.
Just for no reason. But yeah, so that's part of some of them other locker rooms that we've been in and had some success in the tag team division.
Okay. So do you acknowledge the tribal chief?
Yeah, I'm a Roman Reigns fan. I hope he whoops The Rock's butt.
No, come on, man. No. He's a part-timer just like Brock Lesnar is. So that's my opinion.
I agree.
So where we're at here. Let me see where we're at. Oh, so let's talk about your match. That's tomorrow, right? Against Fender, Steve Fender.
A couple days. It's Saturday.
Okay, so what do you have to say to Steve Fender? What is going on? Before we get to that, we have a fan that propped in. Aaron Wallace. Hey, Bobby D, how's it going, man?
It's going good, Aaron. How are you doing?
Aaron,
So with Steve Fender, so like I always like to tell the story, or not story, but there's three guys that have given me more trouble and a run for my money more than anyone else. Sean Vincent, who we've already talked about, he's willing to do anything dirty he can, and he will stab you in the back and kick you with a loaded boot right in the throat. Like, he doesn't care. Kowalski, 450-pound monster that's about a foot and a half taller than me. I mean, he grabs a hold of you and it's going to hurt. Just shaking your hand, he's going to hurt you. Steve Fender, though, he was trained by Harley Race, greatest wrestler on God of Green Earth. The man knows counters to counters. Like, he makes you elevate your game. Nothing is simple. You're not just going to go in there and hit him and he goes down. Like, he's going to counter that punch with something, and then if you try to counter, he's going to counter that counter. The man knows what he's doing. His ring psychology and his knowledge is bar none. Like, he is at the top. Him and Attila, I would say, are the two greatest at that category. And so Fender and I have wrestled each other many times, and it has always elevated my game and taken it to a whole new level.
So that belt on the line back there behind you?
That belt is on the line. That's where I say I'm planning on retaining it and going into FanFest as champ, but it's a tall order, and I didn't wrestle in December since SICW took the month off. I took it off too. Body feels good, but I know there's going to be some ring rust to knock off.
So now you're a face. So Steve Fender, you just said you'll do anything you have to do to retain that belt. Could we possibly see heel Bobby D come back? If you're going to do whatever it takes, right?
I mean, if he chokes me or something too many times, I'm not afraid to do it, Ben.
All right. Herb Simmons. Can we talk about him for a little bit? Tell us about Herb Simmons and how you guys got acquainted and how the relationship is and what he means to SICW as a person.
So when I started, it was with South Broadway Athletic Club with Little Dynamite Tony Costa. Well, at that time, they were partnered with SICW and Herb Simmons. So it was like on their program, it said MMWA/SICW. So at every MMWA show that I was at, Herb Simmons was also there helping doing commentary, helping Tony put things together and whatnot. If he needed anything like just random, like Herb helped him. He was his like right-hand man, and they're best friends in real life. So I actually met Herb through Tony working at South Broadway, and then got invited over. And in Illinois, you don't have to have the blood work every 6 months. At that time, it was every 6 months and all that for the licensing. So I kind of gravitated over towards just working SICW, left Broadway for a while. I did go back right before Tony passed away. Got to work like one or two last shows with him before he passed. So that was good. After he passed, his nephew took over. It wasn't quite the same. Got booted out of there. But yeah, so Herb's been promoting for a long time. That's how I met Herb. Herb's been promoting for over 50 years, though. He worked close with Larry Matisic from Wrestling at the Chase. So he's had a lot of connections. He's really good friends with Bruiser Brody. Barbara has confirmed that with different stories that she's told. Like, because again, you hear things, you wonder how much is the old fishing story, where the fish was this big, but you say it's this big.
Right.
I mean? So, but it's been confirmed through many sources and the legends that he brings in and the way they talk to him and about him and everything. Like, Herb is a living legend in his own right. He won't tell you that, but he is. And I think that's part of what makes him a living legend.
Right. No, he's very humble. I mean, to be honest with you, very humble and very appreciative and stuff like that. So, man, I've got my questions answered. I want you to tell everybody where they can see you, where they can find you. Can they hook? We're going to get your merch. So, but before we do that, merch table and fans, is that important to you as a wrestler and SICW? Is there? Yeah.
It is. I have a lot of kids that come up and they want my shirts and everything and pictures, and I try to keep it very affordable for them. I think I make $5 off a t-shirt. Like, don't do much. Like I'm not even sure that's $5 after the shipping. Like after I have them made, like I don't make much off it. I want the kids to be happy. Of course, I try to make a couple dollars, but it's all about making those kids happy, making the fans happy. And I still have a sign in my car from a few months ago from one of my fans, Kai, who made me a sign cheering on Bobby D and booing Sean Vincent. Nice. I have other stuff that I put in scrapbooks that other fans have made me. Like to me, it's all about the fans. It's all about the kids. The merch table is important because it makes them happy.
Yeah, so close the show in Bobby D fashion. Any shots fired towards your opponent in 2 days. Tell people where we can find you and all that stuff. Then I'll play some music and I'll meet you. Don't go anywhere. Stay in the green room, okay?
Yes, sir. So I do have a Facebook page, Bobby D. My merch store is bobbydwrestling.com. My Twitter is the only Bobby D. And I believe my TikTok, which I don't post enough on there, is Bobby D. My YouTube page where I load a lot of stuff up is Bobby Weidler, Weidler. That's pretty much everywhere you can get a hold of me.
All right.
As far as this weekend goes, Steve, you can bring your best. It doesn't matter. I know that you're going to try to counter everything and you're going to do whatever you can to win, but I'm up for the challenge. So you bring your best. I'm going to bring my best, but I'm walking home with that title, Steve.
Anything you need to say to the people that are going to attempt to take that Bruiser Brody Battle Royal cup away from you?
I welcome the challenge. Last year we had a huge Battle Royal. Anyone else wants to get in there and challenge me for it? It's just more recognition when I throw you over that top rope.
So is Sean Vincent somebody that we need to be concerned about in that Battle Royal and using this spike-loaded boot?
So we don't know it's a spike, but he stomps that foot, and then I could tell you from getting kicked with it, it felt like getting hit with a baseball bat. There's something in there. I don't know what it is, but there's definitely something in there. But you could try it all you want, Sean. You've tried it before, and I'll counter it again, and you're just going to fly over that rope again.
There you go. So Sean Vincent, Mr. Fender, Bobby D's saying how it is. So come 2 days from now, Mr. Fender. Come 2 months from now, Mr. Sean Vincent. Watch yourself. I have big-time faith in Bobby D. Go get the job done. He's a big man. He has his brother-in-law, Big Texan, there to possibly help him out. I don't know. Maybe turn heel on you. I don't know what's going to happen, but
well, don't get it wrong. In that Battle Royal, if Texan has the opportunity, he's going to try to eliminate me, but it's every man for himself in there. You know, we'll try to watch each other's back a little bit, but everybody wants that trophy.
Absolutely. And again, before we go, Herb Simmons, I hope you heard the challenge. I would love to see Bobby D versus the Big Texan. Bobby D says he wants that belt that Big Texan has, and I'm pretty sure Big Texan might want Bobby D's belt. So,
well, everybody has a little bit of a gold fetish they want.
There you go. Grab those titles. So, HugePop Wrestling Podcast. It was Bobby D of SICW. HugePop shared the night together. Thank you, Bobby D, for everything. Thank you, HugePop Wrestling fans, for watching, and those are going to watch later on. We love you guys, and we'll see you next time.
All my dogs, make some noise up in this house.
Who is in the house? Who is in the house? It's the gangster of destruction, so you know what's going down. And when the drive-by's coming, then you better hit the grind. Cause when your body hits the canvas, then your ass is knocked out. Who is in the house? Who is in the house? It's the gangster of destruction, so you know what's going down. And when the drive-by's coming, then you better hit the grind. Cause when your body hits the canvas, then your ass is knocked out. Fight with Adrian Whisper is like a fight with the devil, because when he's dealing with you, you cannot get on this level. Fight with Adrian Whisper is like a fight with a king. It's like a fight with an army. They got the tanks and everything. He's leaving bruises and stitches, possibly leaving you crippled, because when he sets up the table and sends you straight through the middle. 6 sadistic free, beat that ass with a light bulb. Leave a piece of glass embedded in the back of your skull. Who is in the house? Who is in the house? It's the gangster of destruction, so you know what's going down. And when the drive-by's coming, then you better hit the ground. Cause when your body hits the canvas, then your ass is knocked out. Who is in the house? Who is in the house? It's the gangster of destruction, so you know what's going down.